Just getting started here. Just adjusting the camera, trying to adjust the camera to get you guys the best angle possible here. That should work. I'll be working in this space pretty much, so yeah, that should work. Alright, so welcome back. I'm Dan the Glassman. This is the Glassman's World. For those of you who don't know, I'm a glass artist. Been doing glass for 30 years now. Been on YouTube since about, 2012, maybe 2008, at least 2012. And recently just been started streaming live. I guess the last few years I just decided we're just going to stream everything live. There's no script, nothing's scripted, nothing's planned. I may have topics planned and things to discuss, but other than that, it's pretty much just free flowing here. So thank you guys for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I appreciate you guys coming in and chatting with me live and keeping the conversation going. It does help me out, that's for sure. So let's take a look at the glass yesterday that I made. Here, let's not waste any fuel. I'll turn that back on. So we were trying to attempt to make a lavender flower, and I had some cool ideas, and then I started drawing. I'm like, wait, how am I even supposed to do that? Like, that's not even possible to do that sort of size and that scale. Like, I'd have to draw something a lot, make something a lot bigger to do the scale I was trying to do. So, um, there was a photo online that I showed you guys yesterday, and it was just a simple, like, three sprigs coming up, and then the flower petals, purple flower petals for lavender. So the very first attempt that I made, I drew the stems, the branch, the green part to the plant first, realizing that when I'm flipping the glass, once I make it, I'm going to be flipping it over and looking at it reverse. And I realized, oh no, I put the stems on first, which means those are going to be in the forefront. And that's what you're going to see first. So I was like, I already messed this one up. So this is the first attempt right here, which I messed up. I drew those first two lines on the sides there, and I was like, oops, that's not going to work. I can't put the petals in front of it now. So then I just drew a circle around it and created a cool little green and yellow peace sign pendant here, which my daughter said that she's never seen me work the yellow before like this. I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I've ever put solid yellow and used a solid yellow uh, loop or bell ever. So this could be a real one of a kind type of thing here. Pretty cool. So that was the first attempt of a lavender flower, which was a fail, but then I feel like this is a success. So then the next one, I thought it came out really good the way that I drew it. I figured, okay, I can't do as many lines as I was hoping to do, doing three different branches and that many flower petals and stuff. Because lavender flowers are really, really tiny. If you guys don't know, if you don't know what lavender is, it's a really, really small flower. Like they're so tiny, tiny, tiny little flowers, little petals. You know. So this is my second attempt here. And this one came out okay, except all the air bubbles. I do not like the air bubbles in there. And I have it floating. So I put that clear glass in between it, in between the background, so that way it actually floats. My daughter was saying, oh, that looks three-dimensional. That looks so cool. So yeah, that's floating off of the back. And she really loves it. I may actually just gift this to my daughter because she loves it. She thinks it came out pretty nice. But I don't like the air bubbles. The air bubbles are flaws to me. And there's way too many that it takes away from the coloring and everything. But it came out alright. It's alright. It came out pretty cool. So then I was like, well, let me try to make another one. And this one was the one that I tried to make super fast. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can just do a quick rendition where I just add a bunch of dots. So just boom, 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 draw a bunch of dots on the back, draw a stem going through them to just kind of mimic what it would look like, right? And then I drew one, and then I was going to put like two more. So I had one here, and I was going to put one here. But I put the ones on the edge way too far out on the edge. And so the spacing on this is horrible, and it doesn't look good at all anyways to begin with. You can see the little flowers. I'm attempting to make those into the flowers. They should have been bigger dots. If they were thicker, it could have worked out actually. This one probably could have worked out if they were just a little bit bigger, a little thicker. And then those two on the side, those didn't work out, but so those are the first 3 attempts, and I'm really happy with the peace sign. Even though this isn't a lavender, I'm really happy with that. That thing came out sweet. And this is, this line work right here, drawing the lines in, then coloring inside here, not trapping any air bubbles, and, not leaving any lines. That's not too easy to do. And I can actually draw, a lot of different characters and images and patterns. I've done this kind of work before. I should do more of it, but it's way expensive. And I don't really have the clientele that can afford $200 pendants, over $100 or more for a necklace. I don't have too many clients that can afford that, or at least they haven't revealed themselves to me. But this one here, I'd probably sell for, I'd want to ask like $40 for it. It's nice, but I'll probably sell it for less. Alright, so let's get into the kiln and see what else I made. I made a whole bunch of different things yesterday. I was working on getting rid of some of the stringers. And then on this caramel, I had a lot of cobalt all spiraled and twisted on here. So I ended up pulling that out real thin and turning those into a bunch of mushrooms. So we're going to be able to check out what those mushrooms look like. They're going to be like all unique with their own like really cool patterns and stuff. So let's see what those look like. Okay. So I made some mushrooms here, as you can see. And some of them are just solid color. I got some reds here. Got a couple of little red ones. I made these green ones the other day. Got some of those green ones there. I made just a basic caramel one. And these are the $5, the original $5 mushroom pendants. And then these ones are the ones that have all the cool spirals with the blue and everything in it. These are sick. I don't think I'm selling these ones for $5. I don't think so. I might be asking 10 on these ones. These are these are unique. They're just made with the cobalt blue and caramel spiral. But then I like pulled and elongated the spiral and kind of messed with it a little bit. So yeah, these look really cool. Very unique and different here. So I might ask a little more for them. Maybe up to $10. Maybe less. Probably not 5. I don't know. I might be generous, so maybe we'll keep those aside and use them for giveaway prizes. Maybe for those who are always here and always commenting, maybe I'll just gift them out to some of my most favorite viewers here. All right, and then I made some balloons. So I made these really cool purple and yellow balloons, kind of like the Lakers colors. So if you're into the Lakers and you're into hot air balloons, you might be into these. Alright, so we got a whole bunch of balloons on the table now. I'm just going to continue making balloons. That way I can get my wholesale accounts going. Make sure that I can keep the glass balloons going year round now. That's my goal, is to just keep the glass balloons going, have wholesale accounts going, get these balloons to other balloon festivals and events around the world, especially here in the U.S. I can easily get them to the 50 states here in the U.S. and we can keep the glass balloons going and going and going. It's flying. All right, so we'll get the kiln on, and then we'll check out this last piece here, which I think I finally did it. I finally pulled it off, guys. So I did this attempt here again, but I made it better. I made sure to really, really detail the flowers in and really get the line super thin. Super thin. So this is what I came up with, guys. I finally pulled it off. I did it. There's a little bit of air bubbling in there, but it's not bad. And yeah, I pulled it off, guys. I made it happen. And that's small. That's tiny detail work. About the size of my thumb now. Maybe a little bigger. Say about an inch or so, inch and a half. And then I compressed the design so it looks smaller than what I drew it as. But yeah, and then it's got a solid white backing. So I pulled it off, guys. This is awesome. So this is now a birthday gift for my friend's child. And happy birthday, Odie. There you go. Alright, so let's get started. I'm just going to make some balloons. I don't really have anything to talk about this morning. There's a Bigfoot event going on Monday. I don't know if you guys are into Bigfoot. Have you ever seen Bigfoot? So there's a Bigfoot event going on here in Albuquerque at the YMCA way out there on Coors. I didn't know there was a YMCA on Coors. I was hoping it was the one over here on Tramway on this side, on the mountainside YMCA, but I guess it's way out there on Coors somewhere. And I should actually tell my brother because he lives out that way. And our friend Rob Kreider, who has footage of seeing Bigfoot, finding Bigfoot, he's actually been featured on several different news stations around the world, and his footage has been seen and has not been disproved, but at the same time also can't be proved. Like all this stuff with Bigfoot, it's so interesting how you can turn in and you can turn in hair samples, you could turn in scat, you can turn in different things, you know, to like forensic laboratories, and all they can tell you is that, well, it's not a bear, it's not a coyote, it's not a wolf, not a sheep, not a not a human, not a jackalope, not an octopus, not a reindeer. You know, it's not one of Santa's flying reindeers. It's not the Easter bunny. It's not a leprechaun. But they can't say that it is a Bigfoot because no one has officially, I guess, found one on record. I mean, there's reports of the military coming in and snatching up things and then things just disappearing, but there's nothing on file. All right, so let's get our glasses on here. Make sure that we're nice and safe. I'm just gonna make some more balloons. Oh, also, before getting started fully, oh, another thing that I need to make is a bunch of jellyfish. I got all this prep work for jellyfish here. We can definitely do some jellies. We can make more rainbow mushrooms. Okay, there it is. Alright, I want to get some of this color here. This is what the double Mai Tai. I thought that was a double amber purple. It's a double Mai Tai. Not too familiar with that color. Is this the same color? Looks like it. What the heck? Do I not have any more? I'm looking for some dark multi. It might be completely out. Oh. There's some aquatic carnival. Little, tiny piece left. I can definitely use that. That's one I like to use for the jellyfish heads. Maybe I should just make some jellies. We got this beautiful ribbon cane here. We can turn this into a bunch of tentacles. Put that out. I think this is part of that same one there. So we'll use this one here. I don't know if I have any more dark multi. That was the aquatic carnival. Where's that one? Aha. We got it right there. We got the dark multi. It's a multi-color, dark multi. I love this one for making mushrooms. All right. So we'll make a few mushrooms here. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. My family's going to probably wake up in, I don't know, the next few minutes to the next hour. We'll see if I have to get off the torch right away and make them breakfast and things. Excuse me. All right, so I'm just going to make a few mushrooms real quick so we can get the kiln all up and ready to go. So once again, in order to make a mushroom, what you do is you gather the tip of the glass, you get that molten, you gather it to round it back down into the rod. So you heat it up, you use like angles to bring it down a little bit and to gather it back into itself. So this is known as gathering the glass here. The longer you do it, the more it'll gather and it'll start to round up into a ball. But you don't really need to do that. For a mushroom, you just need to get the tip molten so you can force color into the tip. So you need a stringer, which we already have a stringer ready with the dark multi here. So we got the stringer here. I always heat up the tip to the stringer. That allows it to spread out a little bit better. Push it in, kind of hold it there for a second, and then force it all the way in. And it's just going to implode right in there and create a mushroom inside. I don't know if you see that. And then there's some air bubble in there, so you got to always get that air bubble out. And you got to force the air bubble out from the deepest part of the push all the way out to the tip. So you melt above the mushroom cap, basically where the rod and all of that are like gathered up. Right above the mushroom cap is where you put the heat, and you just allow the glass around the mushroom to kind of fall down onto itself, and it'll pinch the air out slowly. And if you do it right, you won't trap any air. You just got to let it slowly work its way out. Let that glass just fall down onto the mushroom inside of itself. And you'll also be able to see it, like when you're wearing your didymium glasses, you can see through the flame here. You know, you guys can't. It's just a big old glowing ball of fire, but I can see right through it. I can see the mushroom. I can see where the air is wrapping itself around the mushroom and then getting forced out. So now all the air has been melted out. And I can see the mushroom in there, but you just see it like burning white hot until it finally cools down. Now you can see it. That's what I usually see the whole time when it's not glowing hot. So then you get your punty. A punty is basically just a piece of scrap glass that you can use to get molten on the tip, and then like do like a tack weld. Like it sticks to it, but you're not fusing it. And then that'll snap off. So we'll just do a few of these mushrooms here as we're waiting for the kiln to get up to temperature. It usually takes a good, 30 minutes or so before it's warm enough to start putting some hot glass in there. If it's not hot enough, then your glass can crack on you. So we're just waiting for the kiln to get up to temperature, and then we'll start working on some jellyfish here. And maybe some other glass, I'm not sure. I might get inspired to make another lavender. I think it's really cool that I was able to pull that off finally. Oh my gosh, I just had a sneezing fit there. Excuse me. So I was going to say, getting back to Bigfoot, there's a meeting or a discussion. I don't know what it's like, a special event. It's a fundraiser at the YMCA here in, I don't know if it's even in Albuquerque. It could be Rio Rancho. But pretty close to Albuquerque, New Mexico here. On Coors, at the YMCA, somewhere on Coors. I'd like to see exactly where. Maybe it's on the west side. Maybe it's not Rio Rancho. Okay, so that was the dark multi, and the dark multi kind of has like a greenish tinge to it, and then a bunch of other colors within it. You probably won't be able to see the actual true color of it, but there's the first one of the day. Alright, we'll see what this double Mai Tai looks like now. So, tonight's Bigfoot, no, not tonight, Monday. So Monday, November 10th, I won't be able to make it. My wife is going into surgery that morning. And so, there's a lot of stuff going on in our lives here and in our home. And, so my wife is going into surgery on Monday. I won't be able to make it to my clients pretty much all week next week. So I'll just be blowing glass when I can, and then I'll be doing whatever my wife needs me to help her with around the house. She's not going to be able to get up on her own and things like that, so I'm going to have to help her with, just getting out of bed, walking to the bathroom and then getting right back to bed. And I'll be bringing her meals and probably feeding her in bed, maybe having like a TV tray next to her, or I think we have one of those lap trays somewhere. I'm pretty sure we should make sure we have that. So I won't be able to go to the Bigfoot meeting on the 10th, on Monday, but apparently Robert Kreider is going to be there. He's going to be a speaker, and if you don't know Robert Kreider, many years ago he was out on a excursion, on an expedition, searching for something else, and he was out in the middle of nowhere. He hiked in for 3 days, so to hike in anywhere for 3 days, away from society and, away from the parking lot wherever you park and go in for 3 days, you're in there pretty deep. You can walk at least 100 miles or so in that kind of time. So they were deep in the forest. I believe it was in the northeast part of New Mexico, which is where the area he's kind of living in now, I believe. And as they were hiking in, I don't remember what they were searching for. He was on some sort of a paid expedition. And on like the second day, they started hearing like something was following them. And they started hearing like these like whooping kind of calls and stuff. And they didn't really know what it was or whatever. I think that evening, on the second night that they were there, I believe that they started hearing like sounds like coming up really close to their campsite in the middle of the night. And then, and possibly finding footprints in the morning. And then the next day, as they're packing up and getting ready to go, they start hearing that same call. And they look up, and way far out in the distance is this big old black figure that's like towering over the top of the mountain there. And it's next to a tree. And he was able to zoom in with the camera, the high-tech cameras that we had back then. I think this was like in the 90s. It only had like a 200 times zoom capability. I don't know if it was like a Sony hand cam or something like that, but it wasn't the greatest footage. It was grainy on a VHS tape or a VHC or one of those like 8mm tapes or something. So this was like back in the day. I'm pretty sure it was in the 90s, not the 80s. And he was able to capture this figure on tape. But because the zoom is so, 200 times, it gets super grainy when you zoom in. So you don't really get to see the detail much of it. But then, they went up that mountain to go see if they could see what was there. They found tracks in the spot, footprints in the spot where this thing was standing. And they were able to take measurements of the tree that it was standing next to. So they were able to approximate just how tall this creature was, which I believe was like 9 to 11 feet or something like that. I think it was like at least a 9-foot tall creature is what they assumed or approximated there. And so this footage has been seen worldwide, and Robert Kreider, he's known in the Bigfoot community. The people who have shot the footage for the TV show Finding Bigfoot, a lot of them actually utilize Robert Kreider's equipment and his expertise. They know who he is. He was actually like part of the auditions for that show, but because he's not, I guess, what you would say camera friendly, and he wasn't ready to just go off and just follow a script, because it's all made for TV, so a lot of that stuff is all scripted and things like that. The lines that they say, the lines they have them make, the little jokes and the things like that, it's all scripted. And he wanted to just keep it real, so he was a little too real for them, and so they didn't use him. They hired a bunch of basically like actors, But a lot of people in the Bigfoot community know who Rob Kreider is. He's going to be here in Albuquerque or on the west side or in Rio Rancho, wherever, on Coors on Monday. I would love to go because I consider him a friend. He considers me part of his KX exploration team with the Kreider exploration, and I think that's really cool because I only went on one expedition with him, but he considers me part of the team, which is awesome. So I wish I could be there. Wish I could be a part of it. But my wife is going to be on having surgery on Monday, and it's in the evening time, like right at dinner time. So I'll have to be taking care of the family and the kids and everything. But I do hope that that it's recorded, and I'll be able to at least watch it on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that Rob, he'll probably record it for his channel. You can find him on YouTube here, KX, the letters K and then X, and then the word exploration. Look up KX exploration. I'm going to push a couple more, and then I'm pretty sure the kiln be warm enough that I can start putting some things in. Especially because I'll hand anneal them, so they'll be warm. Like a lot of the stuff that I make, I can pretty much just put on the table and it won't crack. But it's always good to kiln everything. Except some items, like my $5 mushrooms, I usually don't kiln them. I've been kilning them lately though. But I've had mushrooms, that are still around for like when I first started. I've got some of my first pieces of glass just like laying around. It's funny to like look at them and see how thin and weak the loops are. To see how small, how tiny my mushrooms used to be compared to what they are now. I mean, for $5 now, like you guys are getting some big old mushrooms, some nice chunky fatty mushrooms for $5. The original ones were a lot smaller than these because they were made off of a 12.75 millimeter rod instead of this 16 millimeter rod. So it's a huge difference to begin with, which it ain't much. It's only like 4 millimeter, but it makes a big difference when it comes to making these pendants. So Rob Kreider, he considers me part of the team because I did one outing with him one time, way back in I think it was in 2011. It was in January. I'm going to guess like around January 9th. Freaking cold. It's in the middle of winter, and we're in the high desert here, guys. I don't know if you've ever been to New Mexico, but we're in the desert, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's hot there. It's like, no, in the wintertime, it gets freaking freezing cold. And lately, we haven't been getting the snow to call for all the freezing. So I'm like, oh, what's going on? There's no snow. It's just freezing. It's like ice out here. But yeah, it gets cold. So we went out in the middle of January in 2011. He invited me to go out to a spot here in New Mexico. It was near where he was living, so he was pretty used to this area, and he had been exploring it on his own and with others for many years at that point. He takes field recordings, and he has heat thermal video, thermal imaging for doing videos and things. I don't know if he's ever captured anything out there walking by in his thermal cams, but I know that he's captured a lot of audio out there. If you ever want to hear the sounds of a Bigfoot and his yells, his whoops, the yells are crazy. It's like a two-tonal pitch sound, like someone yelling, and like it's a growl scream all at once. It's terrifying. I would never want to come across a Bigfoot. A lot of people go missing out there. And I was just watching a video of this female from Canada who was on a YouTube series called The Trek. The Trek. Trek. And they have a bunch of hikers that go out and they just document themselves hiking in different parts of the world, I think. Maybe in the U.S., but I'm pretty sure in the world. But this female, she was hiking from Santa Fe to Taos. And so, because it was a local thing, I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty crazy walk. To walk from Santa Fe to Taos and then to go through the mountains. Like, not even walking on the roadside. Like, she's like cutting across. I'm like, that sounds pretty adventurous. That sounds like something I would love to do someday in my life, but I don't know if I ever will have that opportunity now. And I'm getting old. This individual must have been like in her 20s, early 30s. She was young. She had she had that energy and stamina to be able to do that. I don't know if I could. I'd just go like 10 miles and like, okay, I'm good. I'm headed back. But I think her hike was like 120 or 130 miles total. And she stopped along the way. She camped and stuff. But there were some parts where she was in there, and I'm like, that looks like Bigfoot country. You're like way up on the ridgeline up there, where no one else is. And I don't know what sort of protection you're carrying, but I hope you got something. It was pretty wild. I guess I'll make one more mushroom here, and then we'll get started with some jellyfish. And if you didn't get to see the glass from earlier, I'm going to show that again real quick. We got this cool peace sign. That was a mistake. This was supposed to be a lavender. This was the second attempt that I did. And I think it came out with way too many air bubbles in there. And it came out looking nice, but then, got too many air bubbles up in there. This one, I tried to do a real quick, simple version. And then, that one didn't work out at all. But then I finally pulled it off. Bam. So that's a birthday gift. So it only took 4 attempts to make one gift. So out of all that, I'm still just giving it away. I guess we'll do one more of this dark multi here. We'll just do this one. I think I want to save those colors for the jellyfish heads, or the bells to the jellyfish there. Alright, to push the mushroom, you just get the tip molten. You get your stringer tip molten. Push this through the molten part till it reaches the part that... Well, first I push it in there just to the tip, just to get the tip in. And then boom, stick it in as deep as you can. Boom, push it in and get it in as deep as you can. And then you do a flame cut just like that. So first you just like, stick in the tip and then boom, hit it all the way as deep as you can go. We're talking about pushing mushrooms in glass here, guys. All right, and then in order to make the jellyfish, I have to start with making a ribbon cane, which I already have made, so that the ribbon canes are already prepped. I got plenty of ribbon to do a bunch of jellies that last us for days. I'm making a bunch of glass, even though we don't have the Sunday market anymore. I'm debating if I'm going to go to the flea market tomorrow. My daughter wants to go to the flea market, but we could go, but I don't really have like the ability to like go walking around with her and go shopping. I don't think I feel safe with her just walking around by herself. So if she wants to go, I don't know, maybe we'll just go to the flea market. Except I don't have the funds to just go to the flea market. I think it's like $5 or $10 per person to just get in, which is interesting. You got to pay to go in to go buy things. I don't know. Maybe it's only a few bucks. Maybe it's only like $2. But I would think the flea market should be free, and then that way everyone comes by, right? You're making your money off the vendors. And then you have a lot more vendors. Seems like the flea market has dwindled quite a bit. And I don't know if it's because they started charging. They built a stage there right at the entrance at Central and right at the entrance there on Central. There's a stage with a nice little sitting area. They don't even utilize it. There's never a band playing. I even hit them up and I asked them, how much do they pay? And I don't think they ever even responded to me. I'm like, wow, why did you guys build that stage? What was that for? To look pretty? And now they're talking about coming in and just redeveloping the whole Expo New Mexico property, which is where the flea market is and where the New Mexico State Fairs host it. And a whole bunch of other different events has been hosted there. And they have a bunch of animal stalls for the 4-H club. And, a lot of, the state fair has a lot to do with the animals and the farming and that kind of stuff, the agriculture, things like that. A lot of people go to the fair for the rides, though, right? And the food, of course, the fair food. You want the food and you want the rides. Some people go to check out the exhibits, the artwork. Some people go for the animals. Go see the sheep shearing contest, see how the cows are milked, see the horses, see the bulls, see it all. So they're going to move the state fair. The new redevelopment plans looks like a lot of businesses are going to be forced out on San Pedro and Central Corner. And I smell waffles. I think my daughters will like. And then there's a couple other businesses on San Pedro, a little bit north of Central there, that will also be forced out. Alright. That's warm enough. Let's get started making some jellyfish here. Oh, all right. So to make a jellyfish, you want to have your tentacles pulled, and this looks a little thick here, so I'm going to pull this down just a little bit smaller. And then when I stretch it, I'll be able to get more out of it too. So the longer I stretch it, the further it goes. Alright, so we're just going to attach this real quick. Try to keep that center. And then I'm just going to twist it and kind of pull it some. We're just going to elongate it a little bit. We're just going to thin out this rod here. Bring it from like a 7mm down to like a 4mm. And then you got to spin it and make sure that you keep the spiral or the twist going all in that same direction. So my right hand has to spin a little bit more than my left hand in order to keep that going. Alright, that looks pretty good. Okay, so this one here, like I said, I'm pulling it to like a 4mm. That one's going to be the center tentacle. And then we need a even thinner one. I probably should have kept this one thick and then pulled that one super thin, but whatever. We'll just do this all backwards, I guess, for a moment. So now I need to pull this down to like 1 or 2mm. So I want this really, really thin. And I want a lot of it. Just gotta float it, or else I might flame cut it on accident. So I gotta like float the glass just right on top of the flame there, just barely heating it up. Alright, that's probably good for a few. Oh, not going to snap off? Alright, we'll just flame cut it off then. We'll keep that nice and thin. So we got one that's thicker than the other. We're going to draw the thin ones over the thick one here. So the thick one will be the center. And I just clean up the punchy here. Alright, and I just clean up the puntee there. Get rid of all that excess color and stuff like that. Alright, give me a moment. I'm going to share this video real quick. And I'm also thinking, I got those on me? No, they're in my, dang it, they're in my pocket. Oh, I guess there's a market going on today at Bessie's. They're setting up. That's something I could set up to do, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I got my daughter with me this weekend. My wife's not feeling too well. Alright, I'm just sharing this out on Facebook and on my ex Twitter. Which I don't normally share on X or Twitter. So maybe we'll get some more people to come by, say hi. I need to get it set up for other things. Alright, so let's get started here. We're going to do some jellyfish. Alright, so we take the bigger one here. So this is our center tentacles. And we take the smaller, skinnier ones. I'm going to draw 5 lines. I'm going around the center one here. And they're going to be real short. And this is how I layer the tentacles. And since I've been doing this for a while, I've been able to keep the spacing good with 5 going around. And then, let's see, we'll do this color here. So then I melt all those down. So then the tentacles are all smooth again, like one rod. And then I'll get some color on the tip of it here. So then I just have the color on the tip there. And as that's attached, I can then stretch this out and make it a little bit skinnier. Make it straight. So that way when I push it all in, it's all nice and straight. And I'll cut off some of that color. And make sure I keep a good amount of color there though, because I want the bell of the jellyfish to be nice, good size. And then I just push it in like I pushed the mushrooms. So we've been making mushrooms already. So now this is basically like that stringer of color that we push um, into a clear rod here. So then we just get this tip molten like we do, like we make the mushrooms, and we're just going to force all the color that we just built up here. We're just going to force it in. So it's got a little color tip here. We want to heat up that color tip, right, so it stretches out like we do with the mushroom. And when we push it in, we got to remember that the tentacles only go that far. So that's where we want to get to the bottom of our push. We don't want to push it any further than that. We don't want to have it hanging out either. Alright, so we'll reheat this real quick. Get this molten. Stick it in a little bit, and then we force it in, but you got to stop where those tentacles end on that rod there, which is right there. And then I cut it off right underneath it, leaving just that center tentacle, not pulling the other one. And that one, now this is ready to go to have more drawn around it. Take the air bubble out just like we do with the mushrooms. And that's it. And then we'll add a blue background on it so it looks like it's in the ocean. This rod's a little short. I'm going to have to get a little bit more rod here. I was thinking I would just want to use this one up real quick. And that way I can put it in my scrap box and let's get some more rod out. So we're just heating up right above the mushroom cap or the jellyfish head or bell, allowing that air to then wrap around the tentacles. So instead of the mushroom stem, you're now allowing that air to wrap around the tentacles. And as it slowly wraps around, you'll start getting toward the end there. And then you just slowly round the end out. And you should be left with the tentacles on the bottom right underneath that, the jellyfish head or the bell. And this one didn't get pushed in too deep, so I'll make sure to heat up the next one a little bit more so I can go in a little bit deeper. But this will still work. So now we're going to heat it up and then figure out what side's the back side, and we're going to put the blue on that back side there. So we'll just allow it to flatten on the pad. So we turn it into a flat back. And then we get our cobalt. Which I'm like, well, where's all my cobalt? Okay, I got a little piece of it here. I'm gonna have to get some more cobalt out as well. And we find the flat side. So as I'm heating this, I'm also heating up the flat side of the pendant there. Just going to hold it in place. So that'll warm it up. That way when I attach these, there'll be a nice seal. And I'm fusing them together as one. I want to get most of this all molten and allow that heat to penetrate through the internal part of the cobalt here. And we'll heat it up. Go right to the flat side. And then I push onto it. Push it upward and then bring it back down. And pushing it upward allows it to get the shaping prepared for the pendant, the loop part of the pendant. So I just kind of push it up a little bit so it kind of forms like a little point. So instead of just a round dot, it's kind of making like a teardrop kind of shape on the back side of it. Now just heat this up. Make sure that this is all molten again, so that way there's no cracks and things on here. When you go back to heat it up, you don't want it to crack on you, to pop and stuff. So I just get that back to smooth again. So heat up the back here. And I'll try to show you what I mean by the teardrop shape. So right now it's all sticking out from the side like that. But if you look at it like this, it kind of comes up to that point. And then it's we're going to flatten that thick part and make it flat, mash it down to the back of it. It's going to spread out and it'll coat the whole back side there to create a background for the jellyfish. And it'll round itself out some. And I just flatten it like so. And then I just got to melt all of it down. So there's a big old ridge going around the blue. So I have to melt all that down, make it smooth. You just keep the heat on the cobalt, and make sure you keep the whole surface of that cobalt hot. And then at the same time, you kind of want to follow your flame around the edge and get the clear glass from the pendant also molten. And so it just all kind of starts to flow in and sink into each other. And they basically just fuse in as one. They just basically just melt into each other like that. And you start to see that ridge start going away. And start to get smooth. I'm keeping the flame on just the back side. I'm making sure that the flame's never hitting the front part where it's all rounded. The front of the pendant that we'll be looking onto it directly, head on. So that's the flat part there. And we'll put it onto the pad. And we'll flatten it as well. And this is the whole reason why we don't want to get the heat on the front part, because you want to have this nice and hard and molten so it doesn't flatten out. And then I'll heat up the front just to make sure that if I did flatten it out any bit, that it gets rounded out again. And that way when it's all nice and round on the front, it's going to give it a really good magnifying lens to really look into the inside of that glass and be able to see the detail of the tentacles and all the glass color and everything there. Alright, so that looks nice and rounded on the front, nice and flat on the back. Something I just noticed, when you look at it in the front, there's a little bit of clear. You see that clear on the bottom? So I'm going to manipulate the glass here and basically just force it. We're just going to grab it like this and just force it down. It's going to move all that color. Alright, then when you look at it in the front now you don't see that clear glass flying like we just were. I'll just melt that down to get rid of the tooling marks there. And I'll hold it like this so that way it can also fall down naturally instead of coming back up and then revealing that line again. We'll go back in, we'll flatten it to make sure it's nice and flat again. And there's the jellyfish for you right there. You see the tentacles inside. And I know it's glowing, so you won't be able to see the color till it's out of the kiln. So we can do a reveal later. And then like I said, it also didn't get pushed in as deep as I wanted to, so it's not standing up really tall on the pendant. So we'll make sure we go in deeper next time. And now I'm heating it up on the top portion of the pendant above the jellyfish, the bell or the head. And I'm going to elongate and stretch out that blue into the loop. So I got to make sure I keep that back part flat or straight as I'm pulling it, because it wants to naturally just twist on you. So I got to be real careful and make sure it's not twisting. And so I hold it like that, pull it, and get that part a little bit thinner. And then I'll go forward this way. And then I can bring it back around down onto itself. Attach the clear with the color. And that brings that whole loop around with all the color inside of there. And then I have color here, so I don't want this on here, so I'm going to just wipe it off and get rid of that color there. And that way we start with a clear slate for the next one in just a moment. We'll work on the loop here. We'll get this loop all nice and sturdy. We'll get it all flattened down and melt it to itself. Make sure it's nice and straight. then I just got to make sure that I pull it nice and straight. Make sure the hole's got a nice, decent size. With these ones, I kind of make the holes a little bit bigger because I think, some people may want to add a better chain on there than just a 2 millimeter black cotton cord that I use. So I try to make them to where they're a little bit bigger for like silver chains or gold chains, things like that. And there you go. So that's a finished jellyfish pendant there. I don't know if you can see all the detail and the tentacles in it. And I'll just take it off and grab it by the loop. Usually the puntee just comes off real easy like that. You clean up the puntee mark to make sure it's not jagged right there where it was holding on and where it snapped off. You clean up the bottom. I always go in and heat up that back side, and then bam, that's a finished jellyfish right there. We'll get that one in the kiln. We'll try to make one or two more before I let you guys go. And I'm sure that my family's probably waking up here. It's already been an hour? Oh, wow. Okay. Maybe we'll just make one more. We'll see if anyone's awake. Oh. Here, let me just heat that up properly. Sometimes you go in, you like heat up something, and you're like, wait, I didn't want to heat that up, and you take it away from the flame. If you just like barely touch it in the flame and move it away, it will crack. But if you like get it molten, for some reason it doesn't. Like it's interesting. All right. So that's warm enough now. All right, we gotta make all the tentacles first. I almost forgot about this part. Okay, draw 5 lines around this one. You want to try to keep them all the same length. And we'll get that color again. We'll heat this up. Alright, and I melt that together, give it a little stretch to thin out but not too much. You don't want to stretch it too much because then you start messing with the twist in the tentacle. So you definitely don't want to stretch it out too much, but you want to have it to where it's like all flowing together. Pull the color off. The color is almost as long as what the body of the tentacles are. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like almost that much color compared to the tentacles, which goes up to like there. So it's like maybe half as much. All right. And then we just do the same thing where we just get this molten here. So these jellyfish I used to have in the Albuquerque Aquarium gift shop back in 2010, 2011. But then I started making the electronic cigarettes, the world's first drip tips, and getting them out onto the market through the ecig.com. And we had those manufactured and wholesaled out and then retailed out to the public first before all of the companies. And that kind of took over, and I lost my jellyfish account. I'm hoping to get it back, though. It'd be really cool to get my jellyfish back in the Albuquerque Aquarium gift shop. I did speak with them. I left them my number. I have not gotten any sort of message or anything yet. I'll probably do a follow-up here soon. I'll be going to Old Town here soon with all of my glass balloons. I'm going to let you guys go here after this one. So I hope you guys have a really good day. Usually when I say that, then people start coming in. Alright, let's get this one in here. Push it in nice and deep. Bam. And cut off that tentacle. Then you got to be real careful not to push all of your tentacles underneath the cap. If you go too deep, you'll just have the one tentacle showing and not all 5 of them that you put on there. And then you just get that air bubble out, wrap it around the tentacles. Well, just get it molten so then the clear glass wraps itself around the tentacles. It'll fall down onto itself. It'll pinch the air out. And it'll just gradually force its way out, and then you'll have a smooth bottom on the pendant here in just a moment. Alright, like I said, I'm going to let y'all go. Just going to finish this one up. And then we'll figure out what's going on for the day. I don't know if I'm doing anything. I was thinking about trying to go out and vend, but like I said, when I got my daughter here, it's kind of thrown me off. She wanted to stay with her mom for Halloween week, and that threw off my week now to where she's here with me on the week I normally have off, when usually she's here with me on the week when she has her PE. And so now it's kind of like taking away my Saturday today. So I don't want to just leave her at home while I go out vending. And she doesn't like to go out vending with me. So she'll have to stay here with my wife and our son. So I don't know if I'm vending today. Oh my gosh, did I push that in a little deep? I might have got all my tentacles, most of them stuck under there. I did what I said not to do. Whatever. Oh yeah, and we also didn't pull out more blue. Do I have it here? Ah, there it is. I don't know if I can grab it. Do I have quick access to it without bumping the camera too much? I just hit the camera. Let me see if I can get one of these packs out. Trying to unwrap this from the bubble wrap. Now I gotta unwrap all of these from itself. I'm trying to keep this from cracking here. All right. Got one end unwrapped. If you can find the end of where they ripped it, then it makes it so much easier to peel it from. If not, you gotta like try to rip through layer upon layer. Oh, I think I found it. Alright, cool. Alright, cool. Now, you gotta get this into the flame. Being that it's cut sharp like this, sometimes when you put it in the flame, it's gonna pop. So I always point it away from my face. It pops right there. But once you can get it warm, then all that popping stops. And you can get it in the flame. And then I'll clean up the tip. Cool. And then I'll just get that flat again, or get the flat part warm again as I'm heating this up. Get this molten. Stick it to the back. Pull the little water drop shape. And I'll just get that cobalt molten again. And it'll flatten the cobalt, and it'll help to mash it and spread it out here. Just like that. We'll go around the edge of it, make sure that it's all nice and molten. just heat up all the cobalt and heat up all the clear glass around the ledge of it. Allow it to all become one. Keeping that flame just on the back side, so that way when we flatten this up between the pad and the paddle, that we're not mashing the front with the paddle here. So I'm trying to just skim that heat just right off the edge so it doesn't penetrate through. Allow it to lay flat on its own, and then you just kind of force it down. And I do this like little roundy kind of motion, and then that allows it to flatten out. And it looks like that. Flat on the back, clear all the way through it, but that background allows it to look like it's in the ocean. And then we just heat up the back, get rid of any tooling marks, get it all nice and smooth again. And then we prepare to do the punchy once again. I see there's a little bit of a ridge on the bottom of it from when I flatten it, so I'm just going to help to smooth it all out so there isn't that noticeable of a ridge there, and it's just all nice and round. So sometimes you got to do a little bit of extra steps in order to make things look nice. Alright, that looks good. Alright, and you can see the blue comes all the way through. There's no line or ridge on the bottom there. And I don't know if you can see the tentacles are not in there, but I didn't get all of them hanging out on the bottom, so they're mostly underneath. So I did what you're not supposed to do. Alright, but I'm going to let you guys go. I think this video has been long enough. I appreciate you guys coming in, tuning in and watching. I didn't really have anyone come in and hang out during the live stream, but that's okay. I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday. I don't know if we're going to do anything today. There is the growers market. We can maybe go try to find some fresh greens, some veggies or something like that. Alright, well, we're about to pull this loop, and then we're going to call it a day, guys. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. This has just been basically another demo talking about Bigfoot and other random things, like the redevelopment of the Expo, New Mexico. We'll see how that goes. That's interesting. But it's not going to be including the flea market, or at least not as big as what we're used to. They're going to have an area known as the flea market, but it's just going to be like a row of food trucks and a few street vendors with their canopies. It's not going to be like the actual, like the swap meet type of flea market. It's going to be weird. Right, always got to clean up the clear. You might as well do it now while it's molten. That way it doesn't take a while to get that glass back to molten again. And this glass keeps sticking to my tweezers. I need some new tweezers. Alright, well, we'll just clean this up, and we're going to call it a day. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I'm Dan the Glass Man. This has been the Glassman's World. We've just been working on some really cool jellyfish and a few of the original $5 mushrooms. Alright, we'll just get this one in the kiln and then I'll let you guys go. Hey, good morning. Okay, I'm about to finish up this one and I was going to come out there. Alright, I'm going to make sure it's all nice and straight. I'm always looking on this way too to make sure that the cross section is straight as well. And then you look at it at this point, make sure it's standing up nice and straight. And that looks good. I'm happy with that. Nice strong loop, nice and thick, at least 4 or 5 millimeters, probably more. It's too bad that I got all those tentacles pushed up too deep. We're gonna have to draw the tentacles a little bit longer. Or maybe, yeah, it's alright. I mean, you can see them. They're in there. That's a nice bell, though. That cap, that head, that jellyfish head is looking good. Alright. Well, this one's going in the kiln, guys. That kiln's about up to temperature there. Alright. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. I'm Dan the Glassman. You guys have a wonderful day. I'm out.